In a realm where milliseconds matter, Play AI delivers voice interactions at the speed of thought, redefining what's possible. For most of our lives, we've been conditioned to believe that our worth is tied to what we do for others, that our value is measured in sacrifices, in how much of ourselves we give away. We've been taught, sometimes outright, sometimes subtly, that a good person is one who bends, accommodates, makes space, makes excuses. And for years, maybe decades, we've done just that. We've given without question. We've poured ourselves into relationships, families, friendships, workplaces, and communities, often leaving little, if anything, for ourselves. And then something shifts. Maybe it's age. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's the quiet realization that we've spent so long shaping ourselves around the needs of others that we've forgotten who we are without them. That's when the reckoning begins. Because reclaiming yourself isn't just about saying, I deserve more. It's about unlearning the belief that taking care of yourself is selfish. It's about realizing that the world won't crumble if you stop being the fixer, the rescuer, the one who always says yes. Reclaiming yourself means recognizing the places where you've abandoned yourself in the name of being easy to love. It's looking at all the ways you've silenced your own needs to keep the peace. It's seeing with absolute clarity the times you've swallowed your truth because you didn't want to upset anyone. And then it's deciding right here, right now, that you will no longer live like that, that your peace matters, that your needs matter, that you, outside of what you do for others, are worthy of love, care, and respect. This isn't about cutting people off or becoming closed off to love. It's about changing the terms. It's about no longer giving from a place of depletion, no longer over-explaining yourself to people who were never listening in the first place, no longer molding yourself to fit into spaces that shrink you. It's about knowing deep in your bones that you do not have to earn the right to rest, to heal, to take up space. Reclaiming yourself is about walking into a room and not wondering if everyone likes you, but asking yourself if you like being there. It's about waking up in the morning and choosing what feels good to you instead of what will please everyone else. It's about finally putting down the weight of guilt that was never yours to carry in the first place. Because here's the thing, when you start honoring yourself, when you stop betraying yourself for the comfort of others, people will notice. Some will celebrate it, some won't, and that's okay. The people who love you for who you are, not for what you do for them, will remain. But let's be real. This process isn't easy. It's messy. It's uncomfortable. Because when you start choosing yourself, when you stop saying yes out of obligation, when you set boundaries that serve you instead of draining you, people who have benefited from your self-abandonment might not like it. Some will push back. Some will try to guilt you back into your old role. But here's what I need you to hear. You are not responsible for other people's discomfort with your growth. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to evolve. You are allowed to become the fullest, freest version of yourself, even if it unsettles the people who preferred you small. And so the question is not, can I reclaim myself? Because you can. The question is, will you let yourself? Will you let yourself step into the life that feels good to you? Will you let yourself walk away from things that exhaust you? Will you let yourself rest, laugh, breathe? Will you, after all these years, finally let yourself be? For most of our lives, we've been taught that speaking up, explaining ourselves and making our voices heard is how we establish our worth. That if we stay quiet, we'll be misunderstood, overlooked, dismissed. And so we talk, we justify, we explain our choices, our boundaries, our feelings, as if the world needs a reason for us to take up space. But here's what we don't always realize. Silence is its own kind of power, and sometimes it speaks louder than words ever could. When we stop reacting to everything, we shift the energy in the room. Not everything demands our response. Not every opinion needs to be corrected. Not every false narrative about us requires defending. There is strength in knowing when to engage and when to let the noise pass. Silence doesn't mean you don't care. It means you've decided that your peace is more valuable than winning an argument. It means understanding that some battles are nothing more than distractions, and the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to participate. Think about the times you've exhausted yourself explaining something to someone who was never going to hear you in the first place. The times you've over-explained a boundary, hoping the right words would make them respect it. The times you've tried to prove your worth to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. Did it change anything? Or did it just leave you drained, frustrated, and questioning yourself? Silence is the antidote to that exhaustion. It's saying, I do not owe anyone an explanation for honoring myself. And let's talk about another kind of silence, the kind that makes people uncomfortable. When you no longer react the way people expect you to, when you stop over-explaining, when you let your actions speak instead of your words, people take notice. They feel the shift. They recognize that something in you has changed, that you are no longer seeking validation from them. And that unsettles them. Because people who are used to controlling the conversation don't know what to do when you refuse to engage. That silence, that's power. There's also something deeply liberating about learning to sit with silence within ourselves. We live in a world that demands constant noise, constant input, constant opinions, constant proving. But when you allow yourself to be quiet, when you stop rushing to fill every gap with words, you start hearing something different. You start hearing yourself, your real thoughts, your real feelings, your real desires. And that is where clarity lives. That is where true confidence is built. Not in shouting to be heard, but in knowing you don't need to. Silence also creates boundaries without ever needing to declare them. When you stop explaining yourself, people start to understand that you no longer feel the need to justify your choices. When you stop engaging in conversations that drain you, people begin to realize that your energy is not theirs to take. And when you stop reacting to every bit of drama, you send a clear message: I am not available for anything that disturbs my peace. That kind of silence doesn't just protect you, it transforms you. It shifts how people treat you. It forces them to meet you where you are rather than pulling you into places you no longer belong. So, the next time you feel the urge to explain, to prove, to defend, pause. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Is this conversation serving me? And if the answer is no, try silence instead, not as a retreat, but as a choice. Not as avoidance, but as an assertion of self-worth. Because when you master the art of silence, you don't lose your voice, you amplify it. Imagine a world where technology speaks to you seamlessly, understanding not just your words, but your intent. That's the future we're building at Play AI. In a realm where milliseconds matter, Play AI delivers voice interactions at the speed of thought, redefining what's possible. For so much of our lives, we've carried an invisible burden, the need to explain ourselves. We justify our choices, our feelings, our boundaries, as if our worth depends on whether other people understand them. We've been trained to believe that if we can just explain ourselves well enough, if we can find the right words, then maybe, just maybe, people will accept us, respect us, approve of us. But here's the truth. People who want to misunderstand you will, and people who respect you don't need an explanation. Justifying yourself is exhausting. It's a never-ending loop of trying to make other people comfortable with who you are. You say no, and you feel the need to follow it with a reason that makes it sound reasonable. You set a boundary, and suddenly you're explaining why you need it, as if protecting your energy requires a permission slip. You make a decision for your own well-being, and yet you feel the pressure to prove why it was the right one. But right for whom? The world or you? The most radical thing you can do is stop explaining yourself to people who are not entitled to an explanation. You don't owe anyone a justification for choosing yourself. You don't need to make other people understand your healing, your growth, your peace. And here's the kicker. Most of the time, they aren't even listening for understanding. They're listening to respond, to debate, to poke holes in your reasons, because as long as you're explaining, you're still asking for approval. Letting go of justifying means standing firm in your choices, even when people don't get it. It means saying, no, that doesn't work for me, and leaving it at that. It means walking away from situations that drain you without a long speech about why. It means making decisions that feel good to you without a detailed PowerPoint presentation on why they make sense. The moment you stop over-explaining is the moment you reclaim your authority over your own life. But let's be honest. This isn't easy. We've been conditioned to believe that we owe people explanations, especially when our choices disappoint them. We've been taught that if someone is upset with us, it's our job to fix it. That if someone questions us, we should have a good enough reason to convince them. But what if we didn't? What if we simply let people have their opinions without trying to manage them? What if we allowed their discomfort to be theirs instead of making it our problem? Because here's the thing, the people who truly respect you will not demand explanations. They will trust that you know what's best for yourself. They will honor your choices without needing a detailed breakdown of why you made them. The ones who demand justification, who push back every time you set a boundary, who need you to convince them that your choices are valid, those are the people who benefited from your self-doubt. And when you stop justifying, when you stop over-explaining, they feel that shift. They feel the loss of control. And that's okay. So here's your permission slip. You are allowed to do what is best for you without explaining yourself to anyone. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to make decisions that other people don't understand. You are allowed to trust yourself without needing external validation. And most importantly, you are allowed to let people be uncomfortable with your growth. That is their work, not yours. For most of our lives, we've been told that being a good person means being available, always saying yes, always making space, always showing up, even when it costs us more than we can afford to give. We've been taught that boundaries are barriers, that they push people away, that they make us difficult, selfish, or unkind. But that's a lie. Boundaries are not walls. They are doorways to freedom. They don't isolate us. They protect us. They don't make us cold. They make us clear. And most importantly, They don't push people away. The right people will respect them, and the wrong people will reveal themselves when they can't manipulate their way past them. Boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about taking control of yourself. They are the invisible lines that define where you end and where someone else begins. They tell the world, this is what I will allow, and this is what I won't. And the most powerful thing about boundaries, you don't have to justify them. You don't have to explain them. You don't even have to announce them. You just have to hold them. Because real boundaries are not about what you say, they are about what you do. If someone repeatedly crosses a boundary, it's not about having another conversation, it's about changing your response. And let's be real, setting boundaries is uncomfortable, especially if you've spent your whole life prioritizing other people's comfort over your own. The first time you say, I can't do that, without over-explaining, it feels unnatural. The first time you tell someone, that doesn't work for me, and let the silence hang in the air, it feels heavy. But that discomfort, that's growth. That's the stretching of a muscle that's been weak for far too long. And with every boundary you set, you strengthen it. You learn that it's not your job to carry the emotional weight of others. You learn that you don't have to abandon yourself to keep people close. You learn that your peace is worth more than temporary approval. The hard truth is, some people won't like your boundaries. And do you know why? Because they benefited from you having none. They liked the version of you who always said yes, who always made things easy, who always absorbed the discomfort so they wouldn't have to. And when you start saying no, when you stop over-explaining, when you decide that your energy is yours to protect, those people will resist, they will guilt you, they will push back. And that's not a sign that your boundary's wrong. It's a sign that it was necessary. But here's the part we don't always talk about. Boundaries don't just protect you from others, they protect you from yourself. Because how many times have you said yes when every part of you was screaming no? How many times have you sacrificed your peace just to avoid conflict? How many times have you taken on responsibilities that weren't yours just to maintain the illusion that everything was fine? Boundaries are the antidote to self-abandonment. They force you to pause, to check in with yourself, to honor what you need instead of defaulting to what others expect. And the most beautiful thing about boundaries, they create space for real relationships. When you stop saying yes out of obligation, the yeses you do give are real. When you stop allowing others to take advantage of your time and energy, you make room for people who genuinely respect and value you. Boundaries don't just free you from unhealthy relationships, they strengthen the ones that matter. Because the people who love you, truly love you, won't just tolerate your boundaries, they will appreciate them. So if you've been waiting for permission to set boundaries, here it is. You are allowed to protect your time, your energy, your emotions, and your well-being. You are allowed to say no without guilt. You are allowed to choose yourself without apology. And anyone who cannot handle that, they were never meant to have unlimited access to you in the first place. For years, maybe even your whole life, you've given your energy freely, as if it were endless. You've poured yourself into people, conversations, obligations, and problems that weren't even yours to solve. You've spent days, months, even years trying to keep everyone else happy, often at the expense of your own peace. And now it's time to wake up to a truth that should have been clearer all along. Your energy is not unlimited, and not everyone deserves access to it. We live in a world that glorifies exhaustion. We wear busyness like a badge of honor. We believe that the more we give, our time, our attention, our emotional labor, the more valuable we are. But the reality is, the more you give away without boundaries, the more depleted you become. And the more depleted you are, the less of you is left for the things that truly matter. Protecting your energy isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's an act of self-respect. Because the truth is, when you're drained, when you're running on empty, you have nothing left to give. Not to yourself, not to the people you love, not to the dreams you once held so closely. And let's talk about where your energy actually goes. Have you ever noticed how some people leave you feeling lighter while others leave you exhausted? How some conversations fill you up while others drain you dry? Not everything and everyone deserves your time, your effort, or your emotional investment. Some people will treat your energy like an all-you-can-eat buffet, taking and taking without ever considering how it affects you. And if you don't set the limit, they never will. That's why being intentional with your energy is crucial. If something consistently leaves you feeling drained, anxious, or unappreciated, that's a red flag. Your body knows before your mind does. Listen to it. But here's the part we don't talk about enough. Energy leaks don't just come from people. They come from the things you tolerate, the obligations you take on out of guilt, the commitments you say yes to because you don't want to disappoint anyone, the unresolved emotions you keep suppressing, thinking they'll just disappear. They won't. Every time you betray yourself for the comfort of others, you lose a little more of yourself. And the longer you ignore this, the harder it becomes to reclaim your power. So, what if you stopped handing out your energy so freely? What if you started treating it like the limited and valuable resource that it is? What if you got really clear about who and what actually deserves your time? Imagine how different your life could feel if you prioritize the things that nourish you instead of the things that drain you. Imagine how much lighter you would be if you no longer carried burdens that weren't yours to hold. Imagine how much more alive you would feel if you stopped pouring into people and situations that only leave you empty. Because here's the truth. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every argument deserves your response. Not every event deserves your presence. Not every crisis is yours to fix. You get to choose where your energy goes. And when you start making that choice intentionally, everything shifts. You begin to see who truly values you versus who just values what you do for them. You begin to notice which spaces drain you and which ones inspire you. You begin to recognize that your energy is your power, and that power is something you can no longer afford to waste. So the next time you feel obligated to say yes, pause. The next time you feel yourself getting pulled into something that doesn't serve you, step back. The next time you feel drained, ask yourself, is this worth my energy? And if the answer is no, let it go. Because the more you protect your energy, the more you protect yourself. For years, you've felt the pull, the urge to respond, to explain, to defend. You've spent so much time and energy making sure people understand you, making sure they see your side, making sure they don't get the wrong idea about who you are or what you stand for. You've reacted to misunderstandings, to criticism, to things that didn't sit right with you. And for what? Did it change anything? Or did it just leave you exhausted, tangled up in battles that weren't even worth fighting? The truth is, not everything requires your reaction. Not every comment deserves your response. Not every disagreement needs to be settled. Not every misunderstanding is yours to fix. The moment you understand this, really understand it, You free yourself from a cycle of unnecessary emotional exhaustion. You stop throwing your energy into places that don't serve you. You stop engaging with people who aren't actually interested in understanding you. And most importantly, you stop giving your power away to things that don't matter. Because here's the thing, reaction is energy. Every time you respond to something that upsets you, you're giving a piece of yourself to it. And not everything is worthy of that piece. Some things are just noise, background static meant to distract you, to pull you into a fight that drains you but feeds someone else. And when you react to everything, when you feel the need to address every slight, every annoyance, every irritation, you end up depleted. You end up spending your days putting out fires that were never yours to extinguish. And let's be real, sometimes your silence is the loudest response of all. When you stop reacting, when you choose not to engage, people notice. They feel the shift. They realize they no longer have the same access to you, that their words no longer have the same power, and that is powerful. Because when you stop reacting, you stop being predictable. You stop being an easy target. You stop allowing other people to control how you feel, how you think, how you spend your energy. And that changes everything. But let's be clear, this doesn't mean you let people walk all over you. It doesn't mean you never stand up for yourself. It means you become intentional about when and where you place your energy. It means you learn to differentiate between what's worth your time and what isn't. It means you recognize when someone is genuinely trying to have a conversation and when they're just looking to provoke you. Because once you see it, once you realize how much of your life you've spent reacting to things that don't matter, you start choosing peace over chaos. Think about the last time you reacted to something that wasn't worth it. Maybe it was a comment from someone who doesn't even matter. Maybe it was a social media post that got under your skin. Maybe it was an argument that left you feeling drained and frustrated. Now ask yourself, what did I gain from that? Did it bring you peace? Did it change the situation? Or did it just pull you away from the things that actually matter in your life? Because every time you react, you're giving away a piece of yourself. And at some point, you have to ask, is this worth the cost? So the next time you feel the urge to respond, pause. Ask yourself, does this deserve my energy? Will this matter in a day, a week, a year? And if the answer is no, let it go. Because real power isn't found in reacting to everything. It's found in knowing when to walk away, when to stay silent, and when to save your energy for what truly matters. There comes a point in life, especially as you get older, when you realize that peace is the most valuable thing you have. Not money, not approval, not even relationships that drain you more than they nourish you, just peace. The kind of peace that isn't tied to external validation. The kind that doesn't shift depending on what others think of you. The kind that allows you to move through life with clarity and intention. And once you've tasted that kind of peace, you'll do anything to protect it, because you finally understand how rare and precious it is. The problem is, for most of our lives, we've been conditioned to put everything before our peace. We've been taught that being a good person means being accommodating, being agreeable, making space for others even when they encroach on our own well-being. We've been made to feel guilty for stepping back, for choosing ourselves, for setting boundaries that prioritize our own needs. But here's the truth. Your peace is your responsibility, and no one else is going to protect it for you. If you don't make it a priority, it will always come second to someone else's demands. Protecting your peace means being intentional about what you allow into your life. It means recognizing when a conversation, a relationship, a habit, or even a thought pattern is disturbing your inner calm and having the courage to remove yourself from it. It means unfollowing accounts that trigger negativity. It means limiting time with people who thrive on drama. It means not engaging in battles that don't serve you. It means understanding that you do not have to attend every argument you are invited to. Protecting your peace is not about avoiding discomfort. It's about choosing where your energy goes and refusing to waste it on things that do not align with the life you are building. And let's be honest, protecting your peace will cost you some things. It will cost you certain relationships. It will cost you the approval of people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. It will cost you the old version of yourself, the one who overextended, over-explained, over-apologized. And that loss can feel uncomfortable at first, but what you gain in return is worth infinitely more. You gain clarity, you gain self-respect, you gain freedom from the weight of carrying things that were never yours to hold in the first place. One of the most powerful ways to protect your peace is to stop taking everything personally. Not everything is about you. Not every rude comment is a reflection of your worth. Not every rejection is a statement about your value. People project their own insecurities, fears, and limitations onto others all the time. And when you internalize that, you give them power over your emotions. But when you learn to separate what belongs to you from what belongs to them, you stop allowing external chaos to disrupt your internal calm. You realize that what people say and do is often more about them than it is about you. Another key to protecting your peace is mastering the art of letting go. Letting go of the need to be right, letting go of resentment, letting go of expectations that only lead to disappointment, letting go of the past and the version of yourself that tolerated things you now know you shouldn't have. Because holding on to things that disturb your peace, grudges, guilt, regret, is like carrying a backpack full of stones. It weighs you down, exhausts you, and makes every step forward harder than it needs to be. The sooner you release what no longer serves you, the lighter you become. So if you've been waiting for a sign to start prioritizing your peace, this is it. You are allowed to walk away from conversations that drain you. You are allowed to distance yourself from people who disrupt your well-being. You are allowed to choose solitude over situations that steal your joy. And most importantly, you are allowed to live a life that feels good to you, even if it doesn't make sense to anyone else. At the end of the day, the only person who truly lives with the weight of your choices is you. The only person who feels the exhaustion of overextending, the frustration of explaining, the drain of reacting, and the discomfort of broken boundaries is you. And that means the only person who can truly protect your peace, your energy, and your well-being is you. This isn't about shutting people out. It's not about becoming cold or detached. It's about recognizing that your life is yours to live. It's about understanding that you cannot pour from an empty cup. And you are no longer willing to be left depleted just to keep others comfortable. It's about embracing the idea that you don't owe anyone access to you just because they want it. Your presence is a privilege, not an obligation. So step back when you need to. Stay silent when it serves you. Let go of what no longer fits. Choose yourself without apology. Because the older you get, the more you realize your greatest responsibility is not to make others comfortable. Your greatest responsibility is to yourself, to your peace, to your happiness, to the life that you are still creating. And that is worth protecting at all costs.